just how slippery you are. He was talking about how you run with a fire. Where does that fire come from?
Just kind of have been playing football my whole life. I love the game because it's physical, and that's just how I run.
That big catch and run you had for 65 yards, what was going through your mind during that play? Like, how do you keep shedding tacklers, bouncing off guys, and continuing to move your legs?
I don't know. Whatever I see, my body reacts. It's really instinctive. And then sometimes I realize I'm still up, just keep chopping my feet, try to make something out of nothing.
What do you think needs to happen for the run game to be more consistent? It looked like you guys took some steps last week, but what's the next step in the evolution of this run game?
I don't know. In about 20 minutes, we're going to look at the film and see, what we come up with as a group.
Are there particular runs or schemes that you feel like you can be most successful
in? Personally, I like, like the inside, in between the tackle runs, but it's whatever, is comfortable with the coordinator and the lineman.
How do you feel like you and Kenny G kind of complement each other as backs?
Kenny G, he's a great back. I feel like we complement each other very well.
How important is it to establish a running game, not just to pick up those yards on the ground, but also keep the defense honest and like pass protection, things like that? What's the ripple effect, I guess, when you are able to run the ball effectively?
Opens, they stack the box, get one-on-ones on the edge. We got DK, we got a whole bunch of, Calvin, a bunch of, star wide receivers. And so, once they start stacking the box and that happens, then I feel like that's the ripple effect you'd be looking for.
Jalen, does your mentality in game change at all this year from last year? Used to be kind of the change of pace, and now you're that guy from the jump and kind of the bell cow?
Nah, I just go out and play football. Yeah.
What do you feel like the identity of this offense wants to be, and how close are you guys to achieving that?
Physical, effort, and I feel like we do that. Week 2, got a lot to learn from, and come out week 3, perform.
Broderick was mentioning that maybe part of the issue in the run game is just things aren't gelling yet. Is that something?
Gelling?
Gelling, yeah. Like,
What's that?
Like all coming together, all working in unison.
Yeah. Whatever the answer is, I know we're going to find it.
Coach Tomlin put out there last Tuesday. It sounds easy. So what makes it as hard as it is? The other team or your own technique? What's been the stumbling block there?
I think it's just a combination of, everything. There's just great players in this league, and, it's hard to whoop a grown man's butt, every play because they're professionals too, and they're, they get paid a lot of money to do the same thing too. So I think for us, it's just getting back to, getting back to work and ensuring that things out that we need to.
NFL schemes are obviously a lot more complex than they are in college. How has that adjustment been of learning the playbook, learning all those specific details, and being able to apply that?
Yeah, I think it's been good because I've had I have such a great group that I'm in, with TJ, Alex, and Herbig, and all these guys, and Cam Hayward, and guys who really care about helping us and getting better, so we can get out there and play to our best ability without having to think too much. So that they've helped a lot, and practice is the preparation that we do. Really puts us out there to be able to go out there and play and not think too much.
Do you have a sense yet of how much things are going to ramp up for you with Alex's injury?
I have no idea. Like I just told them, Alex is one of the best players in the league too, and it doesn't change my. I'm just going about every way I can to help this team win, and whenever my number is called, just try to be out there and do my job to the best ability.
How tough are in-game adjustments when you deal with an injury like Alex early in the game and your snap count suddenly goes up and you're more involved maybe than you had initially planned to be?
Yeah, it just falls back to your training, what you've done, leading up to the week, preparing and just kind of, always having that a mindset of stay ready to when your number's called, to be able to get in there and help the team, and so there is no drop off. For me, that's just kind of how I try to go about it, and that's how I'm going to continue to go about it.
I know TJ hasn't had any sacks so far, but what does he do that really affects what the offense is trying to do? What does he do that maybe doesn't show up in the stat sheet?
Yeah, everything. He might not have a sack yet, but he's getting tripled and quadruple teamed. On my sack, he had 3 guys on him, so I told him thank you. He affects the game in so many ways, even when it might not show up on the stat sheet, because he's the best in the world. So obviously the team that we're playing is going to have a game plan for him, or else he's going to destroy it. For him, he's been affecting the game in so many more ways than the average eye might see. His numbers are going to come. We know that. He's the best in the world.
Let's do 2 more, guys.
Did you even get to enjoy your first NFL sack, or not so much because of the next play and then the ultimate outcome?
Yeah, I mean, I like, like I said, earlier, just, I would have rather had to win, to be honest with you. I like to win football games, and I think anyone, that plays the sport would agree with that. And, but, it was fun. It was cool to be able to get the first one off your back. It was kind of, the sigh of relief when you get your first one, and it was exciting. But obviously, it doesn't mean much when you don't get the W.
Welcome back to Steelers Nation Wire. Today, we look at rookie quarterback Will Howard, his goals, his mindset, the mentorship he's getting, and what all of this could mean for the future of the Steelers quarterback room. If you thought Will Howard was just another late-round flyer, think again. He's showing early signs that Pittsburgh may have found not only a hard worker, but someone who can grow into much more. After being selected in the 6th round of the 2025 NFL Draft out of Ohio State, Howard walked into a challenging but exciting environment. He helped lead the Buckeyes to a national championship in 2024, which gave him valuable experience under high pressure. But despite that pedigree, he went in the later rounds, an indicator that teams saw potential but also areas for growth. Howard has not been discouraged. In fact, his approach since arriving in Pittsburgh has been grounded in humility, discipline, and a constant resolve to learn. One of the variables elevating Howard's trajectory is the veteran presence of Aaron Rodgers. Rodgers, a future Hall of Famer and multiple MVP quarterback, joined the Steelers this offseason and made clear that mentoring Will Howard is something he intends to do. Howard has spoken in multiple outlets about how Rodgers has been so awesome, how he's given him small but meaningful tips in meetings, in the film room, in practices, even in subtle parts of the QB meeting responsibilities. For Howard, the goal is simple. Can I pick up one thing every day from Aaron? At the same time, Howard has encountered injury setbacks. A fractured hand during training camp cost him snaps and eliminated him from preseason game action. He is on injured reserve, more due to his hand injury and limited throwing, though also due, by some reports, to shoulder conditioning because of a lack of throwing activity. Yet even from IR, Howard is staying involved. He's watching, he's learning, he's in Rodgers' orbit, trying to absorb as much as possible so that when the time comes, he is ready. In terms of the Steelers' quarterback room, there's no denying that the outlook into 2025 is murky. Uncertainty at the top, questions about depth, and criticism nationally that the room is among the worst. But it's also accurate that the Steelers have structured things to give Howard a chance. With Aaron Rodgers locked in as the starter, with Mason Rudolph returning as a reliable backup, Howard has both a present to learn and potentially a future to stake a claim. What makes Howard's case interesting is that he has weapons on his side. Experience leading a top college program, strong character, willingness to learn daily from one of the best, and courage through injury. These are not trivial traits. They separate good developmental players from those who give up when the road gets rough. Let's also consider what Pittsburgh gains by investing in this. Even if Howard doesn't start immediately, the upside of having a capable young QB who understands the system, has already built rapport in meetings, and is growing behind a veteran like Rodgers is extremely valuable. It gives the Steelers options in future off-seasons, in case of injury, or for potentially grooming a long-term starter. And the cost was low, 6th round. The risk is reasonable. The reward, if Howard continues this trajectory, could be high. Conclusion: Will Howard may not yet be under center in Week 1, but everything he is doing points in the right direction. He is showing maturity, resilience, and a hunger to improve that few rookies display, especially under the constraints of injury and limited reps. With Aaron Rodgers mentoring him, teammates and coaches already noticing his work ethic, and a QB meeting room setup that gives him the space to grow, Howard is positioning himself as someone Steelers Nation will want to keep an eye on, not just for this season, but for seasons ahead. Steelers fans, what do you think? Are you confident Will Howard can develop into more than a backup in Pittsburgh? How far do you believe he can go? Drop your opinion in the comments, hit the like button if you believe in Howard's future, and make sure to subscribe so you don't miss any updates from Steelers Nation Wire.